And sometimes you get a new parent graph that you haven't seen. So we did 1 over x, x cubed, absolute value of x, and the square root of x. Those are the 4 that we did. You could add to that you already know a parabola, x squared. And you could do everything left, right, up, and down with a parabola as well. The idea in this unit is these rules work for any graph. So here, they start us off with the graph of y equals 1 over x squared. And for A, the first thing I would do in A is I would rewrite it with the plus 3 on the other side. I would make a note that that 3 is outside, it's not where the x is. So we talk about when things replace where the x is, and the x is on the bottom getting squared, that moves it left and right, that's inside. This is outside, this is going to be 3 up. Next important thing, and this is going to be important for your provincial exam at the end of the year. They have 2 words on the provincial exam, describe and explain, where they have very strict rules on how you can answer it. For describe and explain questions, you have to use words and sentences. If you try to help your words and sentences by showing math, the marking guide is instructed to tell the teachers whatever math is on the page, you have to cover with your hand and just read what they wrote. And sometimes when you take out the example that you're trying to use to help, your explanation doesn't make any sense. So we really have to be clear with our words what the answer is. Okay? Now this one is pretty easy. I would just say, and that's not to say that sometimes in your sentence you have some math. Like you might say, the graph of this would be okay. I could say the graph of y equals x squared has been translated 3 units up. And that sentence on its own explains it completely. So one of the things to be critical of your own explanation is when you're finished your explanation, read it again, and then be critical of it. Could your explanation mean anything else? Could it describe something that you don't want it to describe? Maybe you need to add some more detail to your explanation. Now this explanation was relatively easy. We will see some, when we get closer to the exam, of different kind of explaining questions where it's like, ooh, it's a little bit tricky to try to explain that in words. Okay? So, that's describe. Again, as a student, especially in this textbook, you have to be careful and read the question over again, because you'll do a part of it and be excited that you finished, and not read the question and realize they ask something else. So what are the equation of the asymptotes on each image graph? So this is our image. This was our original. On our original, I'm going to take out my red pen here. I'm going to label y equals 0 as the horizontal asymptote. And I'm going to label x equals 0. Can you see if you moved it 3 up, that the x equals 0 would stay? And the y equals 0 would become y equals 3. And then in part B, Again, I would take the time to rewrite this. So the y is by itself. We have 1 over x plus 3 squared plus 4. That 4 is outside. That's going to move it 4 up. This 3 is inside. Because I think, where was the x? The x was on the bottom getting squared. That 3 is on the bottom and getting squared. Did I write it down wrong?
Should it be -4 instead of +4?
Yes, it should be. Thank you. The problem with scrolling down and trying to use my memory, which failed there. So -4, and so I also have to change, it's no longer 4 up, right? If it's a -4, that would be outside and 4 down. Here we have something inside, and that inside will mean 3 left or right? Left. Always, for the inside part, always the opposite direction of what you see. So our explanation, because it's a describes question. The graph has been translated 3 units left and 4 units down. And so our vertical asymptote, that's straight up and down. A straight up and down asymptote will only get changed if you move it left and right. And I am moving 3 units to the left. So that asymptote will shift over to x minus 3. And my horizontal asymptote at y equals 0 only changes if I shift it up and down. And I'm going 4 units down. So that one is going to change to y equals -4. So, turn to your homework. Circle questions 16 and 17.